Well, hey, everybody. Happy Sunday. Hope you're having a great weekend. We are back. So let's do Mike in the Midwest, episode 254 here, back from the podcast cruise. Scotty G still at Epcot, coming back tonight. We'll have the live call-in show tonight. Excited for that. Back in the studio. But here we go with the podcast, with the got new buttons, all kinds of new buttons. They updated our thing here. Let's see if we can do this. Everything's in a new place. You go out of town for a few days and they update your software. Oops. Let's see. Hang on. Okay. See if we remember how to do this with episode 254. It's like riding a bike, right? Here we go. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 254 of Mike in the Midwest, our mini podcast for the amazing patrons just like you of the Be Our Guest podcast. My name is Mike Rallman, host of the Be Our Guest podcast, which you can find at beourguestpodcast.com. You can find me on the social media at Be Our Guest Mike. You can see all the great pictures and videos, reels, all that good stuff from the cruise, mostly on Instagram. So check that out at Be Our Guest Mike, but come over to the clubhouse. It's beourguestpodcast.com/clubhouse. And I will tell you, we are having a great time over there. There has been an explosion in popularity of the clubhouse. We've had lots of great friends join us over there. Daily, we're getting 10, 15 people joining us in the clubhouse over the last week. So I'd like to say welcome to everybody who has joined us over there. If you happen to be a patron of the show, thanks for joining us over there. We appreciate you, hanging out in our little club. It's our little clubhouse. It's our little cheers. It's our little hangout. It's our corner of the web that belongs to just us. There's no noise. There's no ads. There's no dissent. There's no nonsense. It's just fun. It's just us talking about our favorite Disneyland parades or attractions or Walt Disney World dining reservations, the anticipation of Starlight Parade coming, holy smokes, in like a week at this point. Talking about, oh my gosh, the how much we love Saratoga Springs Resort, or the how great a Madame Croque is in the morning at Primo Piatto. It's the good stuff in life. And then the live from the Disney Destinations channel, I'm telling you what, it doesn't get much better than that channel. I mean, when you're anticipating your trip, it's so cool to see somebody who is at a Disney destination right now posting their trip in real time. Like Scott's there right now getting ready, as I saw, it looked like he was getting ready for an Epcot test track AP preview. I think Jason is doing the same thing. So maybe we'll see some pictures and thoughts on that this morning. And hopefully maybe they could call in tonight on the live call-in show, give us some thoughts there, maybe spoiler free. I'll make sure they're spoiler free. So we don't get too much of that, because again, I like to stay spoiler free as much as I can as well. But it's fun, to see trips happening in real time when you either are getting ready to go on your trip or you don't have a trip planned and you're just homesick for a Disney fix. I love seeing that. And it's kind of fun to share. If you're the one down there, it's cool to like post a picture like, hey, check it out. I'm at Animal Kingdom. I'm getting ready to go on Expedition Everest. And then everybody, talks about it back home. You have, because there's camaraderie with the clubhouse. I was talking with Scott about this on the cruise, and today's just going to be kind of a random show because just got back Friday, still catching up with things going on. Oh, and I just got a little notification here as we're recording the show from Veronica, Jason's better half, that they are in line right now for Test Track 3.0 with the Gardeners and Beth, and they are in line for the preview for Test Track. So see, I was right, because I was stalking Scott on Find My Friends. So I knew where they were, and not in a creepy way, but I just like to know where my bro is, that he is safe and all good. So there they are. All right, so we should get some updates on that at some point soon about how good Test Track. I'm hearing good things about Test Track, so let's just we'll get it from the horse's mouth here soon. I'm thinking it's going to be great. Anyway, what was I saying? So back to that. It's just fun to see folks that are on their vacation. And it's fun to, I think, when you're on your vacation to post these things and just be a part of a community where everybody gets to share. And, sometimes you're at home and you're the one who is getting excited to, uh-oh, they're getting ready to go. Scotty G Must See Adventures just posted 3.0. Here we go. So they're getting ready to post. I love it. It's almost time to go. And I love to see that. Wish I was there. Had to come home because we had some requirements or some, we're helping out with cheer camp back home. And, but excited for them. And they had some great meals. I saw last night at California Grill, some meetups. Wish I could have been there. But when you have friends, you're just excited for your friends to get to do all this cool stuff. So it's very cool to see this stuff. So let us know how it goes. Hold on to your hats when you go around the big loop. Don't lose any hats that you may, I don't know. They're not big hat wearers, but have a good time, scream and yell, and let us know how it goes. And so Jason, Veronica, somebody call in tonight. I think Scott will be on the plane during the live show. So I don't think that'll be possible, but we need calls tonight during the live show. So anyway, I love the clubhouse. I just want to say it has really exploded in popularity over the last month. And it has so much reminded me of the V bulletin message boards that we had back around 2000, like 10, 2000, like 2010 to like 2050, kind of before Twitter and Facebook took over everything. We had the message boards, and it really I credit that to the popularity of the podcast becoming bigger, because we had this community that rallied around it. And I will say, I got to give a huge shout out this past couple of weeks to listener Jordan Backus. If you come over to the clubhouse, he gave us what was called a boost. And I don't understand really how Discord works, but they have these things called boosts. You can boost the Discord, cost a couple of bucks. You buy a boost, which he bought us a boost, and I didn't know that this was a thing, but he bought us a boost. So we hit level 5. We had 5 boosts. You got to get to 5 boosts. I know it sounds weird and I don't even understand it, but we hit 5 boosts. I bought a boost at some point. We had some other boosts in the bank, I guess. We had 4 sitting there for a long time. Jordan bought us one final boost. We hit level 5 boost. I know this sounds crazy, but this is how it worked. We were sitting at 4 forever. You couldn't do much with 4. So I just let him sit there. But once you hit 5, you got all these extra features. One of the features was you could add these, those little icons at the bottom. You can make your own custom icons. So Jordan, I don't know how he's doing this. Scott and I talked about this forever during the cruise. He where you put the 100% if you like a comment, or fire. I do the same ones over and over, like fires and 100s and the thumbs up. Scott always does the shaka like fingers. If you like something, that you can usually tell that's Scott. I usually do fire. That's kind of my thing. Well, Jordan added a bajillion more. He added one for the podcast cruise of our podcast logo of Scott and I. He added one of the Be Our Guest podcast logo. He's added a Mickey thumbs up. He's added one for the ships. He's added one for the hotel logos, like a Pop Century one, an Old Key. All the hotel logos. What it has made. It has made our Discord server, our clubhouse, so homey. It's made it really it's made it like our place. I've always wanted it to be like our Cheers, like our corner pub, but it is really, really, in the last week since I've been back, I've really noticed this. I noticed a little bit on the ship as we were excited internet, but it has made it feel not like a Discord server, but it's like our place. It's not become just like any Discord server. Like, it is our place. 'Cause now it's got our own banner at the top too. It's got the podcast banner, which I think really makes it kind of like it's our place. It's all of ours. And I just want to shout out Jordan for all that work. I don't know how he did that, and I know it must have taken a ton of work. So I just want to let Jordan know I appreciate it, because he did it for the good of all of us. And I think everybody's getting a huge kick out of using all those. I think they're called tap backs, or I don't know, whatever they are. But we're getting, it's so fun to find the perfect. Like, I saw Jason, they're in line for test track this morning, right? And they're talking about, like, people were putting like race cars, under that, because they're excited for, getting ready to go on test track. And it's more exciting than putting a thumbs up, to put a race car under there, because it's test track 3.0. So I have a hard time expressing how grateful I am for our listeners because we really do have a great community, but I truly feel that it is more than a community. It's a family. Like Jordan spent a little bit of extra money for our show to have this ability to do this. But not only that, I mean, it kills me that he spent a little bit, that was like 20 bucks or 25 bucks or something, but he got in there and he said, Mike, I can do this extra thing if you just bump me up here. And I said, yeah, sure. And he went in there and he took his talents to add all these things that I have no idea how he did this, but it's amazing. Like, and now we all have this ability to make these posts look so cool. And I get a kick out of it. Like somebody's talking about the Disney adventure. I think it was Jennifer here from St. Charles that had a friend that was over in Germany that had her ship saw the adventure. And I was like, ooh, I got to go in there. I like this post. I got to find the adventure tap back under that because it's going to be perfect for that. And I found it. And I mean, I don't know. It was more exciting. So bottom line is, I think our show is so much fun because it's our show. I love that we get the opportunity to all rally together and have a good time with it. On Mondays, it's always somebody coming on sharing their trips. That makes it so much fun. And the podcast cruise is a lot of fun. I'm not going to share the stories because, again, I'm going to wait for Scott because we have, we're going to talk about Animator's Palette and how good that was, and Lumiere's and how that was a little bit different than Animators, and uh, all the tastings we did, and everything that we did. Tiana's Royal Palace, because we went in there, how the show was so crazy, but it was fun. What were the staterooms like? What was the adult area like? What, all the stuff that we got to do. What was our impression of the lobby? What was the impression of the adult area, the pool area compared to the nightlife, and all the stuff, pirate night. We'll talk about all that stuff. We're going to do shows on that, but I want to have Scott here when I talk about that. But I did want to spend some time today in just a second, just giving some thoughts. I called this show Travel Soothes the Soul, because I think everybody needs to take that break to travel. And when you get to travel with your friends, and obviously you typically usually do travel with your family, which this time I was totally missing that I didn't have Paige with me. I didn't have Mallory with me because of circumstances. Paige had basketball going on that she runs that team, so she couldn't get away because they just brought the girls back in. They're going through camp, and so it's a bad time. She couldn't do that. And Mallory had cheer camp this week. I missed the date. So she had cheer camp, so can't miss that. So she was back home staying with one of her teammates. So that kind of stunk. But, Pam and I got to have a good time. This is our first time going away since our honeymoon in 2006. So that was actually kind of exciting for us. We bought internet so we could stay, FaceTime Mallory often, show her things. She's been on many, many Disney cruises, so she knew like what Castaway Key looked like. She's never been to Lookout. She was kind of I'll be honest, she's kind of mad she didn't get to go there because she's always away. Ever since she's heard about the island, she wanted to have that new experience. So we had to tell her, you're going to get to go next summer. You'll graduate high school. We'll take you on a cruise that goes to Lookout. And, kind of as a graduation gift. So kind of like Emily got to do this time. She got to go on a graduation cruise. So we're going to get to do that, but she couldn't miss. So, but Pam and I had a good time actually going on a trip, just a couple for the first time since our honeymoon, like 18 years ago, 19 years ago. Better get that right. Okay. So let me hit the feedback from last week's show. And then I have some thoughts about stuff that I just wanted to kind of talk about that's outside of the cruise stuff I want to talk to you about with Scott on the big show about the cruise when we get back. So Paul, last week, I was talking about how I get to live the dream, like in my basement. The show I did kind of early before I left, the gist of it, which I don't think I really got to very well, is my 12-year-old self. If you took a snapshot of my basement right now and showed it to my 12-year-old self, I would have said that I would have died and gone to heaven, because I would have never believed what I have in my basement right now would have been real. Like if you'd have said, okay, 12-year-old Mike, when you get to be 50, here's what you're going to have in your basement when you grow up. Like that I have a computer in here because this is my podcasting room, right? This is my podcast studio, which used to be Paige's bedroom, but she left. So I get this. I have a room dedicated where I can walk in here and everything's always on. I just sit down in my chair and there's a microphone, two big monitors, my mixer, everything's ready to go. And I can sit down in this chair and I can live stream to anywhere on planet Earth. Like if you would have told me that when I was 12, that was my dream. Like that would have it would have my head would have exploded as a 12-year-old because the thing was when I was 12 and like 10 and 8, I was that kid that wanted to be the radio DJ. I dreamed of it from like when I was probably like 6 or so. I would, try to do the introductions between songs on the radio, and I always taped Casey's Top 40 off the radio on Sunday mornings. And I would, try to do the introductions, up next, Cheap Trick with the Flame. Coming up next on Hot 97 in St. Louis. I loved playing radio DJ, right? I love that. And I always wanted to be a radio DJ, but my dad kind of discouraged it because, again, it's not a stable job. And I'm kind of, one of those people that wanted to make sure I always had a job where I made a living. So I became a teacher. But man, if you'd have told me when I was 12, because I was a nerdy kid, right? I had a Commodore 64 as a kid, loved playing on it, ran a BBS. I loved with my BBS building a community. That was my biggest thing. I when I was, like 12, 13, 14, the BBS I ran was the biggest one in St. Louis in the 314 area code because I just kept it up all the time. Like I was very consistent with it. It stayed up 24/7 and I made sure that it was never down. Like if something broke, I fixed it right away. If there were errors with it, I corrected them right away. So it wasn't always, I don't think it was the best, but it was consistently always online. And the conversations always kept going in the message boards. Like I made sure that there were always good topics to talk about. Like we talked about the news, we talked about new products, we talked about new games, and we had software. There was always something going on the Far Side BBS. That's what it was called. And so I love that we build community. And I think that now that's kind of what our podcast is. So I don't know. It's one of those things. Like I think that even, 33 decades down the road, if you tell me like I have a room dedicated to where I can walk in and sit down and just like right now, Graham, Mohawk, Scotland, right here is tuned in on another continent right now. I'm broadcasting to Scotland. Like that would have blown my 12-year-old self away because when I was 12, it was amazing that I could have a BBS that got around to St. Louis, got into my little community in St. Louis in the 314 area code. Now I can reach anybody in the whole planet Earth. It's amazing. And shout out to Graham. Happy birthday to him. Hope he's having a great birthday over in Scotland. So but also I have a pub style pool table, not a very expensive pool table, but I have a pool table that I got for Christmas. I never thought I'd own a pool table. I have a little one up arcade machine there that I got for Father's Day during COVID. I mean, it plays little Pac-Man and Galaga. I mean, like when I was a kid, if you remember the TV show Silver Spoons with Ricky Schroeder, he had all those arcade games in his bedroom. I have one. I mean, it just emulates arcade games. But like I would have died for that. Like I have what, and I still play my little Pac-Man and Galaga every once in a while over there. And I have a little dartboard in the corner. And I have a couch down in the basement with a TV that's hooked up to a Wii. I mean, I would have you got to be grateful for what you have. We don't have the biggest house at all. Considering like the houses that are around us, we have one of the smallest houses, but you got to be grateful for what you have. And like, I am so grateful for what we have. Like if you would have told my 12-year-old self that I have a place where I can broadcast to the world on this PC, a pub style pool table, a little one-up arcade game that I got during COVID. I think I got it in 2020 for Father's Day that plays Galaga and Pac-Man and like a couple of the old other Pac-Man games, which I still can't figure out, like Super Pac-Man. And I don't know, they're the crazy ones that are hard to play, but I just play old school Pac-Man and a Wii and I have my old PlayStation from like 20 years ago. And when I was in college that I have that all, like I love it. Like, you got to take inventory and just be grateful for what you have. And I if you'd have told my 12-year-old self that I had all that stuff, I am living the dream. Anyway, back to what Paul had feedback from before the cruise. He says, Mike, hope you're having and had a great and wonderful cruise. Thanks for all you do. And it's absolutely lightning bugs to me. Saw some tonight. As a matter of fact, when my now 29-year-old daughter was just a preschooler, her and her mom and dad would chase them all over my yard. Thanks for bringing back those memories. Yes. Okay. Back to the lightning bugs thing. Yeah, it's always, I have two things that I still get excited for every summer. One is the first time I see a lightning bug, and I mentioned that I think on the last show was um that I saw my first lightning bug this year when I ran into it with my windshield on my Jeep on the way home from Dairy Queen the other night. That's a couple weeks ago before the cruise. Kind of sad. That's not the best way to see one. But the other thing that I get super excited about is the first time that I hear the cicada sound in the summer. Zzz. I just love that sound because, here where I live, it's it's super prevalent. Like we have a lot of woods around us and it gets really loud in the summer, but it usually doesn't happen until just about this time of the year, a couple weeks, maybe around the 1st of July. So when you hear that, that marks summer. But it means usually that summer is about half over for school teachers about the time you hear the cicada. But I'm not a teacher anymore, neither is Pam. So, it doesn't really matter at this point. But yeah, that's always two things to listen for in the summer is like the first time you hear the cicada and the first time you see a lightning bug. So I've seen both and heard the cicada down in Florida. So, and I've heard them here. So there you go. So did you guys mark the first time you hear the cicada? Let me know. And Dennis says, Bon voyage, Mike. I can't wait to hear about the cruise and follow along while you all sail. I have to admit, I'm surprised at how much the Discord has grown. For so long, it was just a handful of us that were hanging out in there, mainly doing the trivia that Trisha would post every day. Then, when you made the push to get more people involved, it just exploded. The reason I think the BOGP Discord is so much, I can't read today. I think the reason I like the BOGP Discord so much is that everyone there enjoys many of the same things. I love to talk about and hear about Disney trips and cruising, especially cruising. However, I can talk everyone's ear off on those topics and they don't always want to hear it. There is a 24/7 audience on Discord, though, that is welcoming, encouraging, and supportive. That is what sets it apart from X/Twitter and all the other social media platforms out there. Safe space gets overused these days, but it sure is an online family space. I agree. And the thing is, it's self-monitoring. Like it's our space. It's not my space. It's not Dennis's space. It's not Jason's. It's not Scott's, Ricky's, Pam's. It's our space. We all take ownership of it. We take care of it. If we see, like, if Mohawk sees somebody being a fool, we've seen somebody spam us. Like, I better knock on wood. I should not have said that out loud. But if anything pops up, we all take care of it immediately. It's our space. We all take ownership of it, and that's what I love. That we're like all adults, like we all own it. There's like 1,500 owners of this place because we want to have a good space. Like it's rare to have something like this online these days. So we're going to all take care of it and make sure it stays nice. And that's what I love. I just like to hop on there and just see what's happening. And like a lot of times I can't comment because I'm on the treadmill and I can push the 100, and I like it coming or a fire, but I can't type because I'm usually walking on the treadmill at a speed where I can't type because I can type later, like when I get to the keyboard. But I just love it. It makes me happy to see everybody hanging out because I truly think it's like a little online cheers. That's how I see it. I know it's so dumb to say that, but I do love it. And I love how I also see it as a 24/7 listener question show. If you have a question, please don't put us out of business on the podcast. Please keep writing your questions into Mike at brguestpodcast.com because we still need the podcast is kind of my meat and potatoes. But like, if you have a question that you need, you will get an answer within like a half hour, probably 10 minutes on the Discord, like boom, and you'll get multiple and the answers will be better than I can give you most of the time. So yes, it's amazing. And you could talk about the most random stuff and somebody will be like, I did that too. And plus, I don't even think I told you this. I met a listener last night Texas Roadhouse. At Texas Roadhouse, Pam and I went, because of course you get off a cruise, right? You're just starving because you eat all this good food for a week. You know how it is. Like, I mean, you go to, Animator's Palette and Tiana's Royal Palette or Royal Table or whatever it was, and Lumiere's, and you're eating all this stuff at Duck and Diner and Palo Brunch, and oh my gosh, they're just stuffing you full of food. And then you come home and you're in shock. You don't have any food. So I'm like, oh, dude, I got to eat. So we, Texas Roadhouse is our jam. So we go there and I'm eating my chicken critters and loaded baked potato with all the rolls, I'm sitting there just eating. Pam and I are talking, both tired. I don't know how you get tired. Like, we're just tired. Why are we tired? We just went on a cruise. And I see this lady across from me, and she looks familiar. She's kind of looking at me. I'm kind of looking at her. I'm like, she kind of looks familiar. Anyway, we're just sitting there eating. And at the end, like, she gets done eating with her husband a little bit before me. She's at caddy corner from me in the booth. She comes over and she says, Mike? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, you don't remember me? I'm like, no, I maybe a cheer parent. I thought maybe she was a cheer parent. And she's like, she listens to the show. I booked her trips. So she's a listener, Jeannie. And so she's been down for Princess and all that. So we got talking about Disney. Yeah, so listener to the podcast right there, Caddy Corner at Texas Roadhouse in O'Fallon. So we got talking. She makes these awesome, amazing cookies. Like, I mean, they're unreal. Like, she showed me her Instagram page. So you never know when you'll meet a listener of the podcast, Texas Roadhouse in O'Fallon. Yes. And Scott was meeting listeners down in Florida, down at Walt Disney World. So the podcast is such a blessing. I'm just saying. So anyway, let's get to the main topic because we're already going super long. This show should not be this long because you're going to get other shows this week. But so while we were down there, I'll just say that I noticed a few things. Because, one of the great things about a cruise, more than a Walt Disney World or Disneyland, a land-based trip, is that you do get time for reflection. There's more downtime, I think, a lot of times than I think with world trips, land trips. You're going more, like you're on a mission more, right? You're there to do attractions. You're trying to get to an ADR. With cruises, you're not always necessarily like having to be somewhere. You do have your tastings, you do have your dinner time, but a lot of times, like, maybe I'll just go to the pool. Maybe I'll go up to the gym, run a few miles. Maybe I'll walk on the track. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll go see a movie at the Buena Vista Theater. Maybe I won't. So you have time to reflect and you just make choices. So one of the things I noticed, especially on the podcast cruise, is we were lucky to have a group. We had 11 staterooms traveling with us, and that was a small group for us. It was the smallest group we ever had on a podcast cruise. And it was great because the Magic was the smallest ship we've ever taken a podcast cruise on too. We've always done the Dream, the Fantasy, one of the big ships. I think we've always done the Dream or the Wish. We've always done one of the bigger ships. In the I'll tell you what, just going to spoiler alert. The Magic was incredible. I think everybody loved the Magic. Scott and I loved it. We kept raving about it when we talked about it back and forth. But I will say, like, I took inventory of watching other folks throughout the cruise. And I'll say, like, Deanna had her family with her. And I love seeing just how her family got to make memories. You could see that they were having a good time together, like as a family, that they were really getting a kick out of each other. They were interacting, they were smiling, they were giggling. They were, Deanna and her husband were having a good time. I could see it. We did a tasting with them. They were just having a blast. And like that made my heart happy. Like, I saw Trisha and her family with Lorelai and her mother-in-law. And, there was a group of them, 4 of them. And Trisha's a type A, like, you see her from the trivia, right? She's boom, 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 gets things done. But man, they were having the best time, like going around the ship, trying to find all these answers to the scavenger hunt, which I wasn't even sure all the answers were there. They might not have been because I used ChatGPT, but she was squeezing every ounce out of that cruise ship. But I could tell she was having a great time. And Lorelai was like making friends immediately with Dave and Eileen's niece, and she was looking up to Dave and Eileen's niece was looking up to Lorelai just like she was just a hero, and like a bond was made before they even got on the ship. They were in the terminal, and it was so cool to see. And I titled the show "Travel Soothes the Soul," but I think travel is essential because I think that for, like those kids like Lorelai and Dave and Eileen's niece, they're going to go home and talk about this new friend they made from another part of the world. And that's an educational thing. That's not ABCs and one, two, threes, but it's about relationship building and, coming upon somebody that's new that you don't know, but you learn from each other immediately. Right. And you come upon somebody and you get comfortable with, somebody that's not exactly your age, not from your part of the world, but you become close enough to each other that you can interact with each other during a cruise, make friends, have fun, maybe see each other a little bit, maybe not. But I saw that made me happy. And so, travel like that is essential and it made me excited. And I saw like Rich and and his girlfriend, and they were having a great time, at dinner. They're smiling all the time. Like they were so happy together. It was wonderful, Sarah. And you could just see they were having the greatest time. Like it was so fun. And of course, Mike and Leanne got to do things with them. I mean, they're always a hoot. Dave and Eileen, we sat with them, just dear friends for forever. It just when you go around and Eric and Julie were there at some of the tastings with us, and Billy, I got to meet Billy and his wife. I mean, they're the best people. We just we went around and just had so much fun. And I don't want to call people out because I don't know how people are comfortable with saying their names on the show, but like Miss Liz from the Discord, she was with us, and I'll use Discord name. Like just hanging out with folks was so cool. Like just getting to see people. Some people have cruised many times before, so they were comfortable with like, you can see they were experts at getting around the ship. But some people were like, "Ooh, this is all new." And just watching it, the discovery of how the muster drill goes or how the sail away party happens or pirate night. I love sitting back and watching the discovery. And so I had a good time. Like travel soothes the soul. It made me happy to see everybody having fun and people making friends. The socialization, like it made me happy. And Scott and I were talking to like I'll give you an example. Scott and I were walking. We did the nature hike. I'll tell you this story. It's a good story. So I really wanted to do the nature hike on Lighthouse Point on Lookout Key. So it was hot. It was hot. I'll tell you on Lookout Key, it was smoking hot. And I told Scott, I said, I really want to do that nature hike and I want to see the lighthouse. Cause I'm like, I love history, right? So I said, I want to see that lighthouse. And Scott's a good friend, right? He's like, okay, fine, I'll do it with you. He probably didn't want to do it because it was hot. It was hot. So we go, and it's not very well defined, like where the path is. So we start down this path, and we're going, going, going. And I'm like, dude, it's a nice concrete path. This is really nice. It's not very naturey. So we go down this path for like 10 minutes. Nope, we're not going the right way. We're like way backstage, and we end up back where like True barbecue is. I'm like, dude, we were just here eating. We find some cast members like, no, this isn't the nature path. I'm like, where is it? Like, I think it's back there again. So we have to go all the way back another 10 minutes. We find the sign we missed. It says nature path. Okay, we get on that. Go down this rocky road, this rocky path. It's not really a road, it's a rocky path. And there are some signs about like wildlife, about the curly tailed lizard and some other like a moth, money moth or something. I mean, it's cool. It's super cool. You should do it if you go to look at it. It's really cool. But, we're walking down this path and it is, you need to do this. Like you absolutely need to do this because the payoff is 100% worth it. It's about a 10-minute, 15-minute walk to the end. And we get there, and I mean, it's the most gorgeous, beautiful sight of these rocks, and this water is unbelievably beautiful, different hues of blue and green. And Scott and I, of course, got our picture by the lighthouse and by the water and the rocks over it. The picture was amazing. But the whole time we got to have this, talk. We're buds, right? We don't get this time. He lives in, we do the show together, but he lives in Michigan and I live in St. Louis, and we don't get to hang as much as we should. So we got to have, some good time talking together. But when we got there, I said, this is why travel is important. I told Scott, I was like, this was my epiphany out there. I said, next time there's a hurricane in the Bahamas, I'm going to wonder right here, like, I hope this doesn't get destroyed. Because we were looking at the lighthouse, right? And the lighthouse, it gave some facts, like there were ruins from the original lighthouse. The original lighthouse just had like a kind of some rubble, and they'd rebuilt a second one next to it that was obviously not used anymore, but it was there. And there was like a beacon that is still used, like it's a pole with a light on top, solar powered. And I said, next time there's a hurricane that passes over the Bahamas, I'm absolutely going to wonder and hope that this thing doesn't get destroyed any worse than it is. And I said, that's because I traveled here. I've been here. So I will now care about this place where if I had never ever set foot here, I wouldn't care, or at least as much, because now I have personal, like, I have a stake in it. I've been here and I've seen the beauty. This is my connection to this place because it is beautiful and I have experience with this. So I think that, and I'm the worst person to say this. I don't even have a passport. I've been sheltered. I've never been to Europe. I've never been, and I want to get there because I truly, because of this podcast, have friends all over the world and I want to see your places. I want to see Scotland because I want to see where Graham is from. Like I consider him a friend because he hangs out with me all the time in the clubhouse. I want to see his part of the world. I have friends in Australia that I've talked to many times. I want to see their part of the world. I want to see the UK because I have so many friends from the show over there. And that's my goal here soon. But because travel, I think would really make me just, really care about those places. So I was, I'm touched by every place I go, like St. Thomas when I went last summer and Tortola on those cruises. Like I look up those places all the time on the map and just wonder like, how are those places doing? And I think travel is essential. And I think that's why it is important to take your kids there. Yeah, I didn't get to go there as a kid, but even as a, 40, 50-year-old, I think it still changes you, because you get to meet people and you find out people are pretty good. People are very much the same wherever you go. You might look a little bit different, but man, people, they laugh, they smile, they giggle. And I think that's what I love about cruising too, is like you got all these people that work on the ships from all over. That's one of the best things about cruising, to be honest. Like Andre from Jamaica ran our tastings. That dude was so funny. He was so cool. Like I loved him. And like the serving team, from all over the world, like they do anything for your room steward. They do anything. They work so hard so that you can have a great experience, and just fills my heart. So I've gone too long. I'm going to wrap it, but we're going to talk about the podcast cruise this week, and maybe not this week, but at least next week on the show. So many thoughts about the ship, about the dining, staterooms, shows, adult areas, all that stuff. But it was an amazing cruise. It's a lot of positive, lot good to say. Can't wait to share, but hope you're having a great week. Here's what I want for the feedback for next week. Do you travel because it changes you? And give me an example, because I know it does. But I mean, I'm telling you what, when I come home from a trip, especially cruising, my heart is full because I think travel is so essential. It makes me feel like the world is a better place than it's portrayed in the news. Like the news makes the world just seem like just such a negative place. And then when I go out there and actually experience the world, it's a good place. It really is. It's more beautiful. Like, I mean, the sand's beautiful. The water's beautiful. Everything looks beautiful. And then you know what? The people are pretty beautiful too. So I don't know. Give me your thoughts. It's patreon.com/BRGS podcast. Hope you're having a great week. I missed you guys. Can't wait to do the show tonight. Give me a call. I'm solo, so I will need calls tonight. One of the shows for you this week. So until we talk again, hope you're having a great week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.